All right, good evening. Welcome back to Intro to Statistics. In this problem, we're going to continue our discussion about correlation. The first thing they want us to do is to come up with some kind of a scatter plot for this. So they gave us a bunch of data, and then they said, here, make a scatter plot. Fortunately, they gave us this little tool here. Okay, I would not want to just do this with pencil because they get kind of picky about having the exact point referenced. So I would use this plot a point tool so you can just type them in. So I'm going to go ahead and pause our video. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and pause our video for a moment while I go ahead and plot all these points. So these is 15 points to go ahead and plot. So this is going to take me a little bit, and I will see you as soon as I get done. Okay, that was delightful. So I typed all these numbers in. Okay, what I did was I made a list. And then I typed them in based off of the list, so I didn't have to keep scrolling up and down to see what was going to happen. Since my 10 key is still pretty okay, that's how I pretty much entered these in. I can't imagine having to type all of these in. Okay, it just seemed delightful to me to do this. Okay, this is a terrible problem. And almost all these numbers are the same. So it wasn't even like you could tell, like if you got lost halfway through, like which one am I on? Which 77 am I on? Like it was not a fun process. So I do feel for you on all of this. So I'm gonna say check. I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope for the best. I am not entering these things in again. Okay, if I was a student doing this, I'd be tempted to say, you know what, you can have those points. I'm not interested in doing this again. But maybe I'd do it again. Okay, maybe I would. But we'll check. Okay, hope for the best. Yay! I did them in correctly. Okay. Um, so looking at this, compute the correlation coefficient with the heights and the correlates. Okay, round the answer to at least 3 decimal places. At least this one, this looks a little bit better, so I can type this into the calculator. Again, I'm going to pause it, and all I'm going to do is go back up to my original 15 football players here, like height and weight, and all I'm going to do is enter them into the calculator, and then I will come back to you and tell you when I have done that. Okay, so we'll resume in a moment. Okay, so I put these back into the calculator, pretty much just going through and trying to find. Okay, let's see. So I want number one here. Okay, 77, 238, and so forth. And I just entered these all in here, and I'm hoping for the best. Okay, so again, I can't imagine. I mean, actually, this was what I did this for a job for a little while, so that way when I went to grad school, we had data in the back of books that we just have to enter, and more often than not, it was like, well, you were the one who did this professionally, so we volunteered you to do it. So if you have a friend who's working with this, that might be the best way to go. Okay, so I wouldn't stress too much over trying to get all these numbers to go in exactly, but that's what we have for this. Okay, um, correlation coefficient. We're going to go to stat. We're going to go to test. Okay, if you can work with a friend over Zoom or over Discord or whatever, that might be the best way to go. Make sure you guys are getting the same numbers. But we're going to go to Lin, Reg, T, test. Okay, enter. I've got my X's in my list 1, my Y's in my list 2. We're not going to worry too much about this. Again, there's some stuff later on that will do that. We're just going to say calculate. Right? And then what I'm looking for is I'm looking for R. Not R squared, just R. So we have to go to what? How many decimal places do we have to go through? 3 decimal places. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to say this is 0.504. Or yeah, 0.504. So we have 0.504. Okay. Say that's our, because this 9 is going to round this 3 to a 4. That's going to be our check for that one. My fingers are crossed. I'm hoping, holding my breath that this is going to work out. But again, I wouldn't stress too much about getting the exact numbers to do this because this is not a friendly problem. Okay. Let's see here. Now, this is a better question. Okay, if a football player is below average in height, I would expect him to be below average in weight. Like, yeah, they seem like as height goes up, right, the weight goes up. So if they're below average in height, if they're over here somewhere, I would expect them to also be below average in weight, whatever below average means to a football player. Okay, because again, this isn't a great correlation because I would look at this and not say that this is linear, but they are positively correlated. So as one goes up, so does the other. That makes sense. They're professional athletes in a strength athletic and strength sport. So there's going to be a height and weight. They're going to go up kind of correspondingly. Okay. So let's see if a football player is below average height, I would expect them to be below average in weight since R is positive. Okay, and that's all they're asking us to do. Check. Okay, so we got the green dot. This is the best interpretation of correlation coefficient. And again, I wouldn't say, well, okay, as a football player gains weight, they'll grow taller. Like, well, I mean, for a 2-year-old maybe, but not for a football player. Given two quarterbacks, the taller one is likely to be heavier than the shorter one. That I'll agree with. Given two quarterbacks, the heavy one is likely to be shorter than the lighter one. I would not go with that. I would say the taller one is likely to be heavier than the shorter one. So I would go with that one. That's all they're really asking you to do. Okay, I would if they have a cause in here, say anything is causing one to the other, I would like if one football player gains weight, that's causing them to grow taller. Like I would stay away from that. Okay, and then check and then say we'll go with that, and then on to the next one. Okay, so thank you for playing along. Thank you for coming along, and we'll get to the next one, next video. Okay, so that'll be this is a good one. Okay, so we'll see you in the next video and talk to you then.